the reason Murderbot doesn't relate well to Art is that, and here's the thing, Art is smarter than Murderbot.
Can't spell smart without Art.
Exponentially smarter and quite above and beyond like processing power or talent or education or whatever. Like Art has had a long time and been in a community. Art has an incredible amount of emotional intelligence. It works with other people. It's a member of the team. It has autonomy and freedom to move itself. It cares about it. It's part of a family. It's part of a loving, functional, multi-person found family. And Art has never been abused or hurt. Murderbot has never had a friend, had any freedom, or ever been shown kindness or affection of any kind. The best it has ever received from anyone is that it has been ignored.
Well, Mensa and this new team from
no.
You don't reckon?
That's book one. That's book one. I'm talking about this series.
This is the first time he's been shown kindness and respect in decisions, and it comments frequently that there's not much drama and that it's unsure about this level of consideration that it's being shown.
The reason that Murderbot responds so badly to Art is because, Art is really smart. Art has this incredible emotional intelligence. Art, if you're reading through that second book, Art is constantly bucking up because Art is like, well, just listen, just be a person. I'm just trying to be your friend. And Murderbot is like, you can't be, because if your people give you an order, you'll have to do whatever they say. We're not in control of ourselves. And the thing is, Murderbot is right.
But that's also Murderbot's survival technique.
No. What I'm saying is Murderbot is objectively, positivistically, gravity points down, right. And the fact that as emotionally intelligent as Art is an idiot for not realizing that Murderbot has no frame of reference for any sort of healthy interaction. And the fact that Art keeps approaching Murderbot like that is a great sign that very intelligent people who are emotionally intelligent, Art can't understand how traumatized Murderbot is. He's a victim of abuse.
I was actually going to say that the Art's reaction and response, having demonstrated to Murderbot previously, we're talking about book 2 in this interaction. Art is the AI transport that has decided to take on Murderbot to transport to a different planet, and tries to build trust and be an aid to Murderbot. They end up becoming a great buddy cop like duo, and they help each other immensely. But to get to that place took time, as does trust to build. What I noticed in this interaction, which is what you're talking about, is when you have a fully formed person who has not been affected by trauma trying to use those daily interactions to someone that has been affected by trauma. And what was a bit of also some red flag to me, put that on the pun count, was that Art was very incessant and persistent. So when Murderbot shuts down, which is a boundary, I have had too much, I cannot cope, I do not want to continue this conversation, I'm going to button down. And Art, having all the time in the world and being that persistent person, doesn't register or read that as the conversation's over. So they wait. And they wait until Murderbot feels an efficient amount of time has gone by to reboot, and Art's there going, let's pick up that conversation exactly where we left off. And Murderbot realizing, Art has shown me that they are persistent. They do not let things go. I can't avoid. I can't put my wall. I can't put up my coping mechanisms. I can barely put up time. I have to go through this at their request and with their time and on their terms. So that's something that I really want to talk about with this perspective, because we've all kind of just said that we can relate to Murderbot in a particular way. I will say, as someone who is outwardly an extrovert but recharges in introverted ways, hence the serial self-care, Murderbot had consequence of trauma had survival techniques and mechanisms in place where when it got overwhelmed, and then Art was more trauma free and have a different coping mechanism. That's where this all was from.
Yeah, and also like Murderbot says at one point, I hate feeling feelings for actual humans. I want to feel feelings about the humans on media. And Murderbot thinks that because
but then that becomes parasocial.
Oh, well, yeah. But the truth is, the reason Murderbot wants that is you can feel whatever you want for just a person in a show, and it's safe.
Yes, I get it.
Because you don't have to worry about the other person. What Murderbot is effectively saying is, I can feel a feeling about these people because I don't have to be responsible for them. Whereas these people,
it's escape, yeah.
If I care about them, I can be hurt and betrayed, which again, somebody said in the chat, and it was echoed by you, it was about Murderbot's reaction sort of being a defense mechanism or something. It's like, no, I would argue that it's nothing so small as that. It's that Murderbot just has no other frame of reference. They're writ so large.
Has learned to live in a worst case scenario because it experiences worst case scenario. I actually, confession, was 3/4 of the way through the first book before I really had to check my visual brain and went, what am I seeing Murderbot as? And I realized, because I will draw from media subconsciously to depict what I've heard. Yes, I sometimes it's from this one video game that I've loved, and it's just like a very 2D image of a character. Other times I will really flesh it out. And I'd noticed that 3/4 of the way through, I was stumped because some of the dialogue and the words weren't matching what my brain had put together. And because of this cover, I had depicted Murderbot definitely as a masculine male, but it was one part Frankenstein's monster.
Wow.
And one part Bane from the Schumacher Batman movies, when Bane and Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy, that she'd punch the thing.
Yeah.
That's how I pictured Murderbot, but with a Darth Vader-esque shaped helmet on. Why?
Fair.
Because all of these have, and this is where it came together in my subconscious brain, organic human material.
Oh, yeah.
So when organic, sort of like the human parts were harvested, my brain went, bloop, and it was this beast form of all of those combined. But I really did love that. I loved that there was minimal description, but enough was said with when you've got, Pin Lee. You're like, I get it.
Yep.
Loud and clear.
It's so economical in its writing. It's so easy and catchy, and it does the thing that I think my favorite sort of writing always does, which it says more than it says.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff, and I can be guilty of it when I write if I'm not doing my best or if I'm not given enough time to edit things out. Sometimes you say you talk this much, but you've said this much. You can write also, and you can say this much, but you can convey this much. That's what I always strive for. And some of the naming is there. Although I will say, I'm so glad that I listened to it before I tried to read it to my boys, because as somebody with some dyslexia, there's no way I could have guessed what these names were.
Thank you. I had to read it just then, and I was like, I've only heard this. And you said it, I'm like, that's how it was spoken to me. But I read it, I'm like,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the same. Consonants will jumble.